Okay. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Just like tap it for me real quick. That looks good.
Technically not supposed to do that, but whatever.
It's the only way I can tell that it's not the Matt mic picking up your voice.
I get it.
That's a hotline,
I'm sure it is. 1-800-KILL-HAGGLE.
Anybody else need a mic check, white balance? Are we all good? All good? Okay.
You did amazing, sweetie. Ashley, can you give me a mic check one time, please?
Sure.
Hold on, let me put the headphones in.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mic
Thank
check,
you.
checkity check. Mic check, okay.
Let me look. Are you clearing up again? Yes, Bob. Hey, so you should have a picture. I'm on TVU5. Okay, cool. I just got everything set up. Is there anything else you... I'm on TVU5.
Good.
Did they tell you less than 5 minutes walk? I literally just got out of the car. He said TVU5. Hold on, I'm just okay. Well, I haven't gotten Josh's calling. Let me give him. Let me call him back. All right, bye. Hey. Dial in. Okay. Okay. So, all right. Is there a point? Okay, I'll call Tracy. But can you see the shot and everything?
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. Cool. Thank you. Bye. I think it's us. So has Jennifer Timmons come and chat with anyone? No media people have come out and talked to you? Do you have an RSVP with Dowling? They said 1 and 2.
It's in my car.
Hey Josh, can you hear me? So you're saying to turn down the gnats. My camera is broken. It does not have a option of gnats. It's just the one mic. Can you hear me? So if I said my camera only has the one, yeah, it does not have gnats because it's broken. But we can use Walker's camera and we can switch over if you want to do that.
Yeah, I think the front side is good.
It's on 5. Yeah. Can you see the picture? Is it just too loud? There.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I've turned it down a little bit. There's no windscreen on the mic. because I wanted Walker to be able to also keep his mic up here to double record. But if you want, I can take his off and put mine up there. Is that what you want? We don't know.
Hey, the owner for the restaurant, he wants to know you want anything to drink.
To drink?
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't mind a water.
Okay, so do you need anything else from me, Josh,
Water
or is
too?
everything okay?
Everybody wants water?
Oh,
Yeah,
water.
sure.
Yeah, I'll take a water.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll do one and Walker's gonna do two, okay? Alright.
Agua. Agua, ¿saben?
Hey, I just wanted to check in with you, touch bases, make sure we're all good. I'm here now, everything's set up. The shot should be available to see. What is it that we need to know? Okay. And you won't meet us for a live shot or anything like that right now? Okay, yeah, because I just got here, so the only information that I will know is the information that comes from this president. Yes, hold on a second.
Then my other
Tracy.
reporter was like everything's blocked off over there.
Okay, got you. Yep. Yes. Okay, perfect. I will do that. Do you want me to just send it to you guys through which means where you're going to send it out? Okay, perfect. I can send it to you guys. Yep, thank you.
He said that was blocked off.
Did you do those things on your camera?
Done.
Because I have my laptop.
Did it on my phone.
You did all that.
Yeah, everybody was doing it on their phone.
What did people say? What did you see? What did you hear?
One guy he told me he said he was working.
Hold on one second, I'm down.
Could you repeat?
You down?
Could you repeat? For some reason.
Yeah. Oh. A ver. ¿Cómo? ¿A qué te llamas? Okay. Oh. Déjame ver. Ah.
I mean, gracias. Ya, fíjate que conocí cuando hubo de un muchacho que murió
Oh,
y
en
tiraron
football
los
field.
globos.
Okay. Ya me acuerdo.
Y supieron que sí, pero hacen noticias para la mesa. Entonces pues yo iba a contactar a un partido a ver si ahorita no tenemos nada para la comunidad.
Ah, okay. No me acuerdo de este nombre en Twitter, ¿so?
Sí, inclusive, no, yo creo que ese mensaje automático de que cuando uno se comunica alguien te escribe, ese llega un mensaje.
¿En Facebook o Twitter?
No, tengo porque
Okay, por Facebook yo tengo eso automático, pero en Twitter yo no tengo eso.
ya. Y también le pregunté por Facebook no me acuerdo su nombre, que hace siempre ejercicio
Oh,
siempre.
Alex?
Y
Ah, okay, sí, sí.
le escribí, pero no sé, creo que no sé si le da un mensaje.
la comunicación en la estación como iban.
Ya. Y sí, por eso tratamos de marcar. Pero, ¿te lo pongo aquí? No. ¿Me la agarra? Ahí dice, ¿para qué la? You wanna grab?
You want to grab it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys need some more, let me know. Give me some.
Thank you.
Huh?
I was never a service. Nervous. Oh, yeah, I might take yours.
Go ahead.
He broke it anyway.
Oh yeah. Weird day, man.
This is worse places to be staged than the restaurant.
Either way, I want to stream it on my
You gonna throw water out? Yeah, I'd love one.
What?
Yeah. You wanna move? No, 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 no. You're fine. You're fine. I'm just
No,
gonna
you're
move
fine. Don't
this.
worry about it.
I'm gonna use this light stand. Something I can prop my phone on. That's my other tripod is
Yeah,
good.
I found an extra one, but like just in case if
Thanks
you've
for rounding these up.
Yeah, that's fine. If you can't make it to the press conference with a live view, I'm just gonna choose an alternative, but like that's fine. Alright, drive safe. Yeah, that's fine. Bye. I know, right? more straight on, but you may or may not hear it.
Your call.
No, it's not.
shop, but no one here has an Android charger or battery with it.
Yes, I just that was the answer.
You look great in Kimmel. Mine are not 1%. No, mine were 1%. I don't care. It's fine. That's not me.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, cool. Y'all hear me from here, right? No, not yet. You're welcome.
As far as the fees, you see a. I can have her. I can have her work from that. Oh,
I don't want it.
Oh yeah.
I'm not feeling so good.
You guys are media?
Yes, sir.
There's supposed to be a conference?
Yeah. Yep. This is the alleged spot. Trying to confirm this spot. We'll see. You're the Gamecock?
Yeah, yes sir.
What's your name?
Max White. What are you guys?
Oh, hey, Nick Reynolds, Postal Courier.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
ABC Columbia. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, Max.
You know whose bag this one is? Is this your bag or?
Should go over here. The other way was terrible.
You know whose bag that is? One of
Max.
That's
no idea.
watch boxes.
That's Kelsey. The delegate.
Kelsey, is it okay if you push your bag?
Yeah, can
away
we
so they
just
can
push the
get
camera just a little bit closer? Thanks.
Don't worry about it.
Parks and traffic.
I just didn't want to touch your stuff.
No, don't even worry about it. My meteorologist told me, he was like, I was literally at the mall
question was going to another question about you.
Yeah, he said it was like super chaotic in there. I never really get along, so it's not fun.
We're gonna go upstate today, but it's just like reading. It's like, let's just do some of this. So let's just go home, window shop, go to Lowe's, go home, chill out.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I broke news, but not. Yeah, more of a home. I just heard about the prince. Yeah. I go to school. Media briefing at 5.
You're running low on sugar. That's what I've been doing.
You got it.
I'm kidding. No,
I have it up. Okay, I'll leave it up.
I might have
trash. Little samba, right? Right. We had a girl in our studio last week. She's a crime scene tech. She came up to cover the No, I speak me? Oh, no, I speak no, all my kids are they love this. I can say, next restaurant, that's about it. Yeah.
Do you think we need to white balance again?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I like to do it nowadays. Do you have any new information? Oh, it's
Maya.
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 She's waiting for you.
She's waiting for me. I'll tell them, hey, I'm on. I'm sick. Can I go back up there?
Thank you.
Been like there for an hour.
I know, but I went to go film video footage. So let's see. You were there. He's 15 minutes. Oh, the deputy.
It's a little while, huh? What's your name?
Yeah, they're coming this way. It looks like it's our people. You can go ahead.
Everybody does. No. I'll give it to you. Say a couple words to the graduate. Okay.
You're gonna see my
We have to have the restaurant in the background. We switch it.
26, okay.
Well, you can actually see, like,
Well, I mean, how big of a pain is that going to be?
Kind of a thing shooting into the sun.
I don't know if you told Rob to hit the thing anyway, so.
Do what?
I didn't want the restaurant to go, and they just.
Oh, you want to do it over here?
But it's going to be a pain for them to fucking move everything.
Yeah, what was the name in there?
There's no name, but still, it's just a backdrop.
Y'all just fall in behind me.
You all good? All right, Skip Holbrook, Columbia Police Department. Want to give you an overview of what's occurred this afternoon, kind of where we're at. I want to preface what my comments with, this is very preliminary. very active investigation right now, but there's some important pieces of information we think that's necessary that we put out right now. At 2:03 this afternoon, a citizen contacted Richland Columbia 911 and reported gunfire at the mall near the Gap store. We started receiving a series of emergency calls after that. This prompted an all response from law enforcement. And of course, our Midland partners, it's a variety of agencies, and I'll recognize them just in a minute, but we had a hodgepodge of law enforcement responded to this particular location at the mall. And for those of you that may not know, this is an area that covers multiple jurisdictions, and that's why we train and have all area responses to situations like this. We're asking that the public stay out of the area. As I said, it's very active. We have a lot of the roads that are closed down, but we ask for continued cooperation with that. We still have law enforcement teams inside the mall. We've accounted for everybody that's been injured, and I'll speak to that in just a moment, but the reason we still have teams inside the mall is they're clearing. It's a large mall. We're clearing stores one at a time. We did an initial sweep for injured people that were injured, and we got them with medical personnel and got them transported. We had the individual stores that took immediate security measures and locked their stores down, and we had everybody shelter in place. So we have teams now methodically going through the mall and removing folks that they find that have sheltered in place and moving them to the unification site. We have established a unification site, which is just up the street at Fairfield Inn. That's located at 320 Columbiana Drive. We have a conference room secured there, and we're asking anyone that was separated or might be looking for a loved one or friends, that's where they can report, or they can call there at 803-732-4436. Again, that's 803-732-4436. As law enforcement teams locate people in the mall, that is where they will be taking them for unification, again, with friends and family. What we know currently, and again, I say this is very preliminary, we had 12 injured, no fatalities. I repeat, no fatalities. 10 suffered gunshot wounds, 8 were transported, 2 self-reported to area hospitals. Of the 8 gunshot wounds, 2 are in critical but stable, 6 are stable. We had 2 that were injured during the stampede, non-gunshot wounds, but were injured. And again, we're transported folks to 3 area hospitals, Park Ridge, Richland, and Lexington. We have 3 people detained. What we know is at least 3 people were seen with firearms inside the mall, and at least 1 person fired a weapon. That could change. We're asking anybody with information that may have witnessed, may have video, or has heard something to contact our Criminal Investigations Bureau. That number is 803-545-3525, 803-545-3525. There will be investigators standing by to receive those calls. I want to say thank you to our citizens that exercised courage, were very patient with us, took good direction, and have cooperated 100% with everything that we have asked. Mall security has been invaluable in this. The management's been on site with us as well as their security, and we thank them for that, and especially the security measures that went on inside the mall itself. Obviously, it's unfortunate that we have to do this, but you can tell that training and preparation paid off in this situation. It was very chaotic. Our law enforcement partners that I mentioned, which we could not do our job in the Midlands and in Columbia without. That's the Richland County Sheriff's Department, Lexington County Sheriff's Department, Newberry Sheriff's Department, SLED, State Highway Patrol, Triple P, IRMO PD, ATF, U.S. Marshal Service, the FBI. We had Lexington EMS, Richland EMS. Our fire department's been instrumental in scene management and assisting us. They've stood shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement in the chaos and in the danger area. And again, our mall staff has been phenomenal. And of course, as you can see, we have great support here. Our city manager's been on scene, our mayor, and several of our council members. So we will share information as we get it. What's important that we put out now is that we have no fatalities. 10 injured. We have a unification site set up and a hotline, if you will, for anybody that has information. We know a lot of people saw a lot of different things and they fled out of safety, and we get that. We're asking, please take a moment, collect your thoughts, and reach out to law enforcement at the number that we've provided. I'll take a few questions.
Do you have a sense of the motive? Was it a fight? What led to this?
This is still early. We don't believe this was random. I think that's very important in situations like this. We believe that the individuals that were armed knew each other, and there was some type of conflict that occurred that resulted in gunfire. This was not a situation where we had some random person show up at a mall to, discharge a firearm and just, injure people.
Do you know how many shots were fired at this time?
No, we don't. We know that there was multiple rounds fired, though.
Were any of the people injured children?
The oldest gunshot victim was 73, and the youngest gunshot victim was 15.
Were all three suspects detained, were they all armed, or was it one, two people armed?
So what I said was we have 3 people detained. We have not called them suspects. They're 3 people that we would classify as people of interest at this point. We're reviewing video and talking to people that witnessed, and their classification may change. But right now what we're releasing is 3 people that are being detained, and we don't have any information on types of weapons. I'm sure that'll be the next question.
Yeah, were they armed at all when you detained them?
No,
What were the ages of those folks who were detained?
we're not staying.
Was it standard to have SLED in the FBI in an investigation like this?
It's standard to have an all response. There's not a major event or major scene like this that we don't get a response from our partners at SLED and the FBI.
Is there a concern that it could have been gang related or even related to drugs at this time?
That's preliminary. It's too early to know. Again, what we can say is it appeared that they did know one another. Thank you.
Point, we know 12 are injured, no fatalities, 10 people shot, at least 2 people in critical but stable condition. The ages of the gunshot victims ranging anywhere from 73 years old to 15 years old. Chief Holbrook also saying the victims were taken to Park Ridge, Richland, and Lexington hospitals. At least 2 people were injured in the stampede as folks tried to get out of that area. We know that 3 people have been detained. The police chief careful not to say that they were suspects. 3 people detained, 3 people seen with firearms in that area. Also stressing today that he does not believe that this was a random shooting, saying that he believes the victims knew each other. Again, that shooting happened about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Law enforcement at 2:03 received their first 911 call that there was a shooting inside Columbiana Mall near the Gap store. There is a reunification site that is at Fairfield Inn, the address 320 Columbiana Drive. If you have a loved one that you have not been able to get in touch with, or you're trying to find a central location where you all can meet, again, that address right there on your screen, 320 Columbiana Drive. That is the reunification area, the Fairfield Inn. But we also need to stress to you that traffic is at a standstill in that area. Roads are closed and blocked off in that area. So keep that in mind as you move forward. Of course, WLTX is going to continue to follow this for you. We're going to take this to social media now. We're going to Facebook with the rest of our coverage, and we'll have more updates for you when you join us tonight for News 19. We are live on Facebook now with an update on the shooting at Columbiana Center this afternoon. About 2:03 this afternoon, Columbia Police received a 911 call that there was a shooting near the Gap in the mall, which is off of Harbison Boulevard. This is video that we got in from viewers and from our crews that are on the ground right now. For those of you who are just now hearing about this story, let's do a level set for you. So about 2 o'clock this afternoon, the first 911 911 call came in reporting the shooting. We just wrapped up a press conference with Columbia Police Chief Skip Holbrook, and he laid out exactly where they are in the investigation now, bearing in mind that a lot of this information is still preliminary. We know 12 people were injured, but there were no fatalities. We know at least 10 people were shot. We know that there are 2 people who are in critical but stable condition, and we know at least 2 people were injured in the stampede of folks who were trying to make their way out of the mall. We know the victims were taken to Park Ridge, Richland Hospital, and Lexington Hospital. And we know those victims range in age anywhere from 73 years old as the oldest victim to 15 as the youngest victim. 3 people have been detained. They have 3 people detained. Chief Holbrook, careful not to call them suspects. 3 people detained, 3 people seen with firearms inside the mall. The police chief also wanted to stress that he does not believe that this was a random shooting. He believes that these people knew each other. Now, for those of you who are watching and wondering where your loved one is, if you have not been able to make contact with them, there is a reunification area, a staging area at the Fairfield Inn off of Columbiana Boulevard. We're going to put that information up on the screen for you in just a couple of minutes. But that reunification site, Fairfield Inn, bear in mind, roads are closed and blocked off in that area. Everything from I-26, Piney Grove Road, if you're familiar with that area, Columbiana Boulevard. As law enforcement continues their investigation, they have blocked off those roads as they continue to try to get information from people who were in the area. News 19's Peyton Lewis is joining us now live by phone. She begins our team coverage with what she's seeing in that area. Peyton.
Hey, Darcy. So today we're out near the Columbiana Center, and we're seeing Piney Grove Road kind of shut down all the way backing up into the highway areas. You cannot get over to Harbison Boulevard. It's completely blocked off. There are law enforcement ambulances out everywhere, cones on certain streets that are blocking them completely, where law enforcement is making sure people aren't going. If you want to get past any of that, you do have to talk to the officers, stop near the cones, but a lot of the times they'll tell you to turn back around and give you a different route to go. They actually gave me a different route to go. I was coming over to the center to try to get more information about what's going on, and they told me, you're going to have to go park at Fazoli's. That's the best way we can tell you to go right now. And all of it surrounding the area was gridlocked with cars trying to get over to the area to either see what was going on or reconnect with their loved ones and those kinds of things. So everyone is, trying to be patient with one another, I believe, but still traffic is at pretty much a standstill in surrounding areas around the Harbison Boulevard, Piney Grove area.
Question, are you still seeing law enforcement heading that direction? I know they're still considering this an active scene because they've told folks who are sheltering in place, specifically employees of the mall, not to leave the mall until a member of law enforcement is able to come in and give them full clearance. So are you still seeing law enforcement heading that direction?
Yes, we are. Actually, I'm pulled over at a McDonald's right now in the area trying to see what is going on, and there's law enforcement coming in and out of the cones that they have blocking this intersection that I'm at, but they're only letting certain people through. Actually, there have been some undercover vehicles that have pulled through that they confused with regular folks and told them to turn back around, and until the police cars turned their lights on, they didn't know. But we are seeing a lot of that still. I would like to remind everyone, if you do see a police car or an ambulance behind you, try to get out of the way as quickly as possible. I know it can be difficult in some areas, but just, try your best to get out of their way so they can get to the Columbiana Center.
Peyton Lewis reporting for us live. Peyton, thank you so much. We'll check in with you again in just a couple of minutes. Our team coverage is going to continue now with News 19's Kaylin Hagwood. She is at the staging area where law enforcement just held their press conference. Kaylin, we're going to let you give us an update on what Chief Holbrook had to say.
Well, yes, Darcy, as you have been sort of outlining for us throughout the day, As you have been outlining for us throughout the day, it was a very chaotic day for folks who were actually there on the ground, and want to start with what witnesses say that they were experiencing. They went in for what was supposed to be a fun Easter weekend. People were taking photos with the Easter Bunny, is what I'm told. But what happened is, they started to hear what they thought sounded like gunshots, and it turns out, from what Chief Holbrook had to say that actually was the case. 12 people were injured, at least 10 people were shot, and 2 people are currently in critical condition. The youngest person, 15 years old. And while they continue, law enforcement is still at the mall working to clear the facility and make sure that everyone is out safely. Now, there is a reunification zone, as you mentioned earlier. It is at the Fairfield Inn by Columbiana, or on Columbiana Drive, for anyone who has been disconnected with their loved ones. Now, there were a lot of people at the mall. There was an extremely chaotic scene with folks who were running out. They said some folks were trampled within the running and the chaos of everything. He asked that as people return to their homes, return to their safe spaces, that they will reach out to the police, the authorities, to let them know what they saw so they can continue to investigate this. But there are 3 people who are detained at this time, Darcy, and they are working to find out more information in terms of a motive. But they say that at this time it is not a random incident. They believe that 3 people knew each other, and they're working to find out more information.
Kaylin, you were there for the press conference. I'm not sure if Kaylin's been able to put her earpiece back in. You were there for the press conference. There were a number of people who were there, including the mayor of Columbia. Have you heard anything from other law enforcement officials or from those in leadership with the city?
Not at this time, Darcy. That press conference just wrapped up, but I will say that they are, allowing Columbia Police to take the lead on this. It is like I say, a multi-agency response led, the FBI, even as far as Newberry assisting with this investigation. I did ask them, I asked the chief, is this a standard thing that they have so many different agencies participating? He says he wasn't entirely clear about that, other than to say that, basically the more support that they can have during this type of an investigation, the better.
We're out there with Walker Lawson, so we're going to get an update from him in just a second. For those of you who are still watching us from home, whether you're watching on social media or following us on the News 19 mobile app, we want to let you know that traffic at this point is still a huge problem. Peyton Lewis is on the ground. She's been keeping up with that. There is a staging area for law enforcement to speak with the media, but there is also a reunification site at the Fairfield Inn. Now, as you can see, traffic does appear to be moving a little bit better than it was, let's say, an hour ago, but there is still standstill traffic. As you can imagine, folks who are trying to get to their loved ones are in that area and desperately trying to get to them. As Kaylin mentioned, this is the Saturday before Easter, and so Columbiana would arguably be a very busy place at this time of the day. So again, that reunification site, Fairfield Inn, 320 Columbiana Drive, 320 Columbiana Drive. Law enforcement giving you a phone number to call as well if you are trying to get additional information. That number is 732-4436. And for those of you who are watching and may have someone who is employed at the mall, they are also stressing, the Columbia Police Department also stressing, that if an employee has been told to shelter in place, they are saying to that employee, do not leave the store that you're in until you're told to by proper authority. So again, continue to shelter in place, which means this is still an active scene. The investigation still continues, even though 3 people have now been detained. We heard from Chief Holbrook that they're very careful to say these folks have been detained. He is not calling them suspects at this point. 3 people detained, 3 people seen in the mall with guns. News 19's Walker Lawson is going to continue our team coverage now with more on this mass shooting at Columbiana Center.
That's right. Good afternoon, Darcy. When I got here around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, traffic was as bad as Peyton had mentioned earlier. You could not get through anywhere. It took me quite some time to navigate a path to get to closer to the mall, and I was able to get over towards JCPenney, which is located here at the Columbiana Mall, and right beside Forever 21. I was able to speak with a few people that had just left from inside the mall. Here's what they had to say.
I just got there about 5 minutes before it happened. My daughter was actually there all day. It was a pretty scary event. It was about 10 shots or so that rang out. Before they were done, I was grabbed her and we were running out the door. When I tell you, people were coming out of every single exit as fast as possible. It was a pretty serious situation.
And as he mentioned, it was a crazy situation. People were running to their cars, trying to figure out who to call, what they were going to do. He had even mentioned to me when I spoke with him, you know, this type of situation, you almost forget to grab your phone to call your loved ones or anything because you're so panicked and running out of that area. You grab your loved ones and you go. So it was quite a frightening situation when I got here today to kind of see everyone spread out and really confused and looking for answers. So that is what I saw when I arrived here, Darcy.
Walker, how do things compare now to what you saw when you initially arrived?
Now things are, it seems like most things are calmer for the most part. There are still some active, it looks like cops are still in the area over there, but things for the most part are pretty calm. Most cars are driving down the street behind me, but not many people out and about in this area right now.
Walker Lawson reporting for us live right there off the Harbison Boulevard. Again, a still developing situation as Columbia police are still searching for answers. And with that being said, they're asking anyone who saw anything in the mall this afternoon to contact them with the information that you have. For those of you who are still trying to get back in touch with your loved ones, the reunification site is at the Fairfield Inn, located at 320 Columbiana Drive. We're going to continue to follow this story for you. I know News 19's Peyton Lewis has been following the traffic end of it. Peyton, are you seeing anything different where you are?
Things are moving a little bit more now. I'm seeing that road on Harbison Boulevard still blocked off. Police are still out here motioning vehicles and trying to tell them which ways they need them to go. But things are moving a little bit more now. There was a line of cars kind of towards the end of Harbison Boulevard trying to get out to that light there. And it was a little bit backed up when we spoke before, but it seems that it's moving a little bit more clearly now. There are still lots of police cars out and about. There's ambulances that I've seen go by here and there. Not as many as I was seeing earlier, but things are moving just a little bit more now. It seems that surrounding restaurants, maybe some stores are seeing a little bit more foot traffic than they were earlier. It looks like cars are kind of recouping a little bit. I've seen more people here at the McDonald's that I'm stationed at Harbison Boulevard, and people are coming through again, and they've been stopping to ask what's going on and if they can take this road and that kind of thing. But everything should be clearing up now. I would just ask again that people stay patient with their fellow drivers and, you know, just know that everyone's trying to either get in or out of this area to either find their loved ones and reunite with them, or to, you know, get out if they were here when everything happened before. So things are looking a bit better, but I would still advise probably not to come this way.
Peyton Lewis reporting for us live. Peyton, thank you so much. Again, we're going to continue our team coverage now and check in with News 19's Kaylin Hagwood. Kaylin.
Well, if you're just joining us, I want to take you guys back through the investigation. This is actually where Chief Holbrook gave a briefing to the media just a few minutes ago. So he says it was a multi-agency response, and everything took place around 2 o'clock this afternoon when they got a call about gunfire within the mall. Now, they have been asking the public to, of course, stay away from this area, as there is still law enforcement inside the mall working to clear the place because they had employees shelter in place out of fear of what could be going on. They do say that they have 3 people detained at this time. Those are people of interest. They don't have any suspects necessarily. And they say that they don't believe it was a random shooting. He stressed that. Chief Holbrook wanted people to know that he did not believe it was a random shooting, but rather people who knew each other and had some kind of conflict possibly that led to this shooting to take place. Now, that being said, 12 people were injured. At least 10 of them were shot and 2 are in critical condition. No one has passed away at this time, but the youngest victim is 15 years old. Some folks were trampled within the mall. And we also heard from witnesses who talked about who talked about what they experienced. And so you just heard sort of the official perspective. From their perspective, it was chaos. I mean, you go in and it's Easter Easter weekend, so folks were taking pictures with the Easter bunny. They were with their young children, and they tell us that they just turned into chaos. They heard people running. They heard what they thought were gunshots, and even young people were getting trampled on as everyone was trying to run out of the mall, unclear of what was going on. Now, I will say this: the chief does say, as everyone does return and is able to calm from the experience that they've had, he asked that they reach out to Crime Stoppers, call the police to let them know what you've seen, what you've experienced, so that way they can try to help piece together everything. No information, no amount of information is too small, and so call that Crime Stoppers number in order to get assistance or to help with this investigation as they work to find out more information and keep the area safe. Darcy?
Kaylin, thank you so much. Columbia Police Department tweeting out a statement within the last 3 minutes saying, in part, today's isolated, senseless act of violence is extremely upsetting, and our thoughts are with everyone impacted. We are grateful for the quick response and continued support of our security team and our partners in law enforcement. Columbia Police Chief Skip Holbrook saying that it was a multi-agency response to today's shooting. Again, we want to stress for those of you who are still searching for your loved ones, there is a reunification site. It's at 320 Columbiana Drive. That is the Fairfield Inn. Now, if you have any information that you think can help law enforcement as they continue to try to investigate what led up to this shooting, a number that they've just released to us is on your screen. It's 803-545-3525. As Kaylin just mentioned moments ago, no piece of information is too small. Law enforcement wants to hear from you if you were in that area. For those of you who are just joining us as we wrap up our coverage, we do want to let you know a mass shooting at Columbia Mall, 2 o'clock this afternoon. The first 911 call came into law enforcement about that shooting near the Gap store. We know 12 people have been injured, no fatalities. The ages of the injured ranging from 73 years old to 15 years old. We know that there are 2 people who are at least in critical but stable condition. And we know there were at least 2 people who were injured in the stampede as people tried to make their way out of the mall to safety. According to Police Chief Skip Holbrook, he does not believe that this was a random shooting, saying that the detained likely knew each other. 3 people detained, 3 seen in the mall with firearms. The people who were injured were taken to Park Ridge, Richland, and Lexington hospitals. Again, he does not believe that this was a random shooting and is again stressing to anyone who was in that area at the time to make sure they make contact with law enforcement in order to give them the information they need in order to continue the investigation. Columbia Police also saying that if there is an employee of the mall who was told to shelter in place, they are asking those employees to stay where they were told to stay until proper authorities give them the all clear. I see we've got Walker Lawson standing by. Are we going to go to Walker now for another update? All right, Walker.
Hey, Darcy. Yes, we are actually here on Columbiana Mall Road. So if you take a look behind me, earlier law enforcement was sitting right here. Now it seems the road is open, so cars are now moving up and down the street. We're not seeing that traffic that was backed up also just a moment ago. Seems like it is now free-flowing traffic. Now, I did walk around right after I spoke to you a second ago, Darcy, and when I walked up the hill, I was able to look over at JCPenney. There are still some police presence, obviously, in the area right outside of the JCPenney, so it looked like there were about 7 or 8 cop cars still out there. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, right when I got here, it seemed, you had mentioned there are stores that are asking their employees to stay in place. When I got here, a couple employees spoke and said that they also ran and took shelter immediately. So it was quite a scary situation here today at Columbiana Mall, and we're continuing our coverage out here. I'm going to send it back to you, Darcy.
All right, Walker, thank you so much. We're going to wrap up our coverage now on Facebook, but we are going to continue to follow this story for you this evening. Again, make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms and right here on WLTX Live on air and on our website at WLTX.com. This is also a good time to remind you to download the free News 19 mobile app. All right, we'll have more coming up a little bit later today.
You can't be check. All right, but I'm by myself, so. Hey, real quick, what IFB do you need me to be on? What's a free IFB? Thank you. All right, I'm gonna get off of you, and I'm gonna get on that.
And then I was like, hey man, all of them are in.